With the global success of the last decade and Olympic glory last summer, the sport of triathlon has never been in better health here in Britain, so it's perhaps appropriate that this weekend we return to an event which has been at the heart of this fitness revolution since the beginning. Welcome to the 23rd edition of the Toshiba Windsor Triathlon. With such an obvious and important historical backdrop to the town, this course offers a rare opportunity to race past some of the most significant royal landmarks and buildings in the country. The regal setting also attracts huge crowds, perhaps one reason why such a mix of triathletes, pros, age groupers and first-timers all love competing here. And this doubles up as round 2 of the British Triathlon Super Series, so we can expect those 2 elite fields to round off the action in style. One of the best views of Berkshire and this event is reserved for George III, depicted here in the world-famous copper horse statue situated in Windsor's Great Park. And from here you also get a good indication of the course. It all starts 3 miles down at the end of Long Walk in the River Thames. There follows a 40k tour of the county by bike before they return to the town for a 10k run around the walls of the castle. Inspiration everywhere here, so let's join your commentator Patrick Winterton and find out what else lies in store for these competitors.
Well, there are so many fantastic sights on this triathlon that it's going to be hard for the athletes to stay focused. The castle, of course, the largest occupied castle in the world, is the centrepiece for this triathlon here in Windsor. Well, the athletes are going to struggle to be quite as smart as the guards on duty. The boys from Eton College will play their part. This race, of course, the second in the Super Series, and it's also the British Elite Championships for the standard distance. So lots at stake today. 1,500 metres in the water, 40-kilometre bike ride, and then, of course, the infamous 10-kilometre run to finish it off, where the race will almost certainly be won and lost. Well, everyone having to rack their bikes the night before the race in Alexandra Gardens, ready for an early start in the morning.
Well, I'm joined now by an expert who discovered the sport of triathlon relatively late on for a pro, but still managed to squeeze in 3 national titles and a European medal as well. I'm talking about Annie Emerson. Annie, great to see you back here in Windsor. This race just has such a sense of history, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does, and it's been on the calendar for over 20 years now, and it's just one of those races on the domestic calendar that the triathletes want to do.
Why has this been such a successful event over the years?
I think it's very challenging. It's a great course. The swim's tough. The bike is just beautiful. It's a beautiful bike course. And of course the running up to Windsor Castle 3 times. It's a tough run course, but it's one the athletes really enjoy.
Great stuff. Thanks very much for now, Annie. There's a real buzz around the place here in Windsor, and you never know who you can bump into.
Well, with 2,700 entries today, there are some very talented athletes indeed. Well, here are 2 of them, and the siblings that may well challenge the Brownlees in the future. The 2 twins, Bishop, Tom on the left, David on the right. I think David struggling to keep up with his brother. Tom has already shown some good form this season. He's been at Leeds University and is certainly getting better in all 3 disciplines. His brother David at Loughborough University could do with just gaining a little.
At the moment, David, Tom's got slightly the upper hand on you. You've got to have pretty similar talent.
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I was in fact better than Tom, but I had a few injuries and stuff, and he's had that upper hand the last couple of years, but who knows, it might not always be like that.
And actually, sort of being on the start line of the race, you know, normally with fellow competitors, you don't really care about them, you don't worry about them. But if you were right next to your brother in the swim, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, I don't want to bash him over the head.
It's not necessarily about bashing him, it's more about wanting to kind of not get dropped or anything. So I'd like him to make the front group tomorrow if he can, and then obviously we'll work really well together on the bike. And a couple of races that we've done in the past, we've worked together, we communicate well. So I mean, you've seen it with Johnny and Alistair in the Olympics, they're chatting and they work together really well, and they just thrive off each other's presence in a bike group. So hopefully that will work in our favour tomorrow.
And David, where would you put your fitness levels right now?
Yeah, pretty good at the moment. I think I'm running the fastest I've ever ran, so I'm just looking forward to get racing and see what I can do against some of the top boys, especially with Stu here and stuff. It's great to race him. I know him from Loughborough as well, so yeah, it'd be good racing.
David, don't you think it's about time you gave your brother a good run for his money?
Yeah, well, it's been getting there the last couple of years, but maybe this year's the year. Maybe this race, in fact.
We'll see. Triathlon, of course, has started to attract athletes from other disciplines. Jenson Button we've seen in the past. And here at Windsor, a former French fly half will be making an appearance.
Thomas Castagnet. Did I pronounce that properly?
Yeah, that's okay. It's charming in your mouth.
Thank you. Listen, you've raced here before. 2011 was the first time. Now, what was it that made a rugby player decide to take up triathlon?
You know, when you stop playing, your sport, you need to find some other goals, and I've decided with some friends, because it's all about friendship, discovering new things. It's entertaining, and the crowd is cheering behind you, and it's amazing, and I really try to push to my best. I really love it, and I love the atmosphere, and especially in Windsor for French people. Windsor means a lot, so to do this, in that kind of environment, it's quite exciting.
And just tell me, when you come across the finish line, are we going to see that famous little dance you used to do when you used to score a great try?
Well, I can tell you that when I cross the line, I'm quite tired, and I would love to cross the line like you did in the past, because you were a famous runner. So
a long time ago.
Yeah, like me, we were really good when the TV was in black and white. So maybe now we could do some good things still,
And there's a new relay format introduced this year, and there's a team called Girls Have Got to Have Shoes, which is made up entirely of the Woods family, Amy, Natasha and Zana, whereas the dad, Ricky, is going it alone.
Okay, so where did the idea of you guys all doing the triathlon come from?
Probably on our sofa one afternoon, and we're all quite sporty, so I think it was just a conversation, said why don't we give it a go.
You're being the real brave one today, aren't you? Because you're doing the swim leg.
Yes, I mean, I don't mind the swim. It's just getting in the water at the beginning. But yeah, nice.
Have you actually done much swim training?
Yes, I have actually. Yeah, not in cold water like the Thames, but yeah, I've done a lot of swimming.
So you're going to lead over to Mum, who's doing the bike leg. You're doing the sprint distance. Have you done much training on the bike?
Yes, I have. Lots of spinning classes and out on the bike, so I'm prepared.
You can't let your girls down, can you?
No, absolutely not. No, really looking forward to it.
Well, the preparations are almost over. The bikes have been racked. The race numbers have been issued. There's almost an eerie quiet here in transition as the time ticks down overnight until 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, when thousands of triathletes will re-emerge ready for one of the earliest starts on one of the most spectacular courses in the country.
Well, this is the moment of truth, an early rise for all these athletes, still before 6 o'clock in the morning, and they've got to somehow try and eat and warm up in preparation for what's to come.
It's still fairly early. Have you had any problems getting accustomed to getting up this early on a Sunday morning?
That's actually the hardest part, actually, but once you're here, it's great.
Were you able to take any breakfast on board? Because it's quite hard to eat that early.
I've eaten a flapjack. That's also we're going to have breakfast afterwards, hopefully.
Breakfast of champions, flapjack beforehand, and then you go for a fry-up and a cup of tea afterwards.
Plan.
Well, one of the athletes today who'll be hoping to finish is Bill Neely, who viewers of ITV may be familiar with.
Is this a little hobby that you have on the sideline that no one knows about?
Well, I do marathons, so I've done the London Marathon 4 times, and this just seemed like a good idea.
It's your first Olympic distance.
First Olympic. I've done sprint, and I was here last year when the swim was cancelled. First Olympic distance. So I'm looking at that water and thinking, why am I doing this?
Well, there'll be many, many people going through the same thought at the moment, but once they get underway, it will all change.
I'm a bit terrified. So, yeah, no, looking forward to it. I think looking forward to getting it over with.
Here's Amy Woods, who takes the first leg for the family and looks deep in thought at the moment. All the athletes split up into waves according to their age groups. The elite get a slightly longer lie-in with a 9 o'clock start, but the first wave going off at 6 o'clock this morning, and then every few minutes after that.
Are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine. Just trying to acclimatise myself now in the water. Just give a little paddle and warm myself up. So, yeah.
You'll be fine. First 50 metres a bit chilly and then you'll be fine.
There'll be many who think she's got the short straw today, and a short wetsuit as well. Could be chilly. So away she goes, and a steady start for Amy. Remember the distance for the sprint race, 750 metres in the water. Then she'll be handing over to her mum, who's got to do 30 kilometres on the bike. And finally, Zana, who takes the 5K run to finish it off. Well, of course, the issue of swimming in the river is you've got to take advantage of the current when it's with you, but find some way out of it when it's against you. And that's what makes the swimming here tricky. Castagned seems to have survived it okay, and a nice little sidestep as he comes into the transition area to switch from swimming to the bike. And today, Thomas has elected to do the Olympic distance.
How was it?
I'm finished already. Very hard.
Cold?
Yes. Not really charming.
Not very charming. The Thames isn't very charming at 6:40 in the morning.
Amy Woods finally finds her way out of the Thames and looks as though that swim has taken a little bit out of her. Now, she's a former GB gymnast and actually trying to raise money for Basingstoke Gymnastics Club today, so we wish her well on that. A third of the way there, from the swim to the bike, and now it's Natasha, who has not gone for an out-and-out racing machine. A hybrid will do her nicely, I think, on the way around the 30 kilometres. 40 kilometres for Thomas, the Olympic distance.
See you in 40 minutes.
I think that's a bit optimistic. What does he think his name is? Bradley Wiggins or something? I think it's going to be well over the hour before we see Thomas again at the end of the bike ride.
Amy, that looked like a tough swim and perhaps a little bit tougher than what you might have hoped for.
Yes, definitely was. I mean, it was really hard at the start, getting across the river as well. And once I got in though, it was fine, and got into a rhythm and just kept on going. Just didn't want to give up. Just wanted to get to the end.
Well, they've saved the best to last here at Windsor because the final two waves are reserved for the elites. First come the women. Let's check out the lineup.
There's Emily McLaughlin, 20-year-old, in fact her 21st birthday coming up in just a couple of days' time. She'd love to get a victory here, and she's pretty handy in the water. But watch out for Hannah Druitt, by far and away the quickest swimmer in this field. The 20-year-old from Salisbury started at the age of 17, 18, and so many triathletes come from a swimming background, and that of course helps them get into the first group on the bike. McLaughlin, who's been third in the Super Series before and also won the Jensen Button Triathlon, so she's very talented.
I'm hoping, ideal situation, that we'll be able to get a few people away. Hannah Druitt is a very strong swimmer, so if we can get a group around the bike, then hopefully we can get a few minutes on the bike, as you don't get to see the packs, so they won't know how far ahead we are.
Well, the reason that McLaughlin and Druitt want and need a lead is because Emma Pallant is in the field, who is by far and away the best runner. She's coached by Stu Hayes and Michelle Dillon, and we've already seen this season she's on form.
Yeah, I think I always worry about the swim bit, and talking a lot with Stuart and Michelle about which side to swim on and stuff, so yeah, a little bit nervous about it, but it should be fun.
This is Hannah Druitt approaching the end of the swim and really stamping her authority on this race. She's blasted away from Emily McLaughlin, who held on for a while, but Druitt has showed her class. She's under 20 20:30, which is a very good time indeed. 20:25, I think, the exact time for the swim. Remember, it is a 1,500-metre swim here in Windsor, the Olympic distance, and she's opened up a gap of something like 50-55 seconds, and that is going to be very handy indeed. Now, she needs a quick transition, but it does mean that at the moment she's going to be on the bike on her own, and that means for a hard day's work she could have done with the company of someone who's good on the bike but perhaps slower than her on the run. But the run is the weak link if she has one. No mistakes in the transition for Druitt. Number 51 just coming out of the water. That is Emily McLaughlin, who we saw earlier on. Hannah Druitt on the bike, and a slow getaway, perhaps showing a little bit of inexperience there, but she'll be on her own. She has got a gap of over 50 seconds, and that should be enough to keep her out in front for the majority of this bike course. Weaving left and right, time wasted again. Here comes Emily McLaughlin. Now, she started at the age of 9, so her transitions should be very smooth indeed. She finds herself a little bit in no man's land. You know the gap between her and Druitt out front, but she's also some 25 seconds ahead of the next group, which is being led by the very well-tanned Emma Pallant. Now, Pallant was slow in the transitions in Blenheim. Now, you might have noticed that all the other riders putting their helmets on before they take the bike off the racks, which is how it should be done. And I think Pallant is going to find herself incurring a 15-second penalty for taking the bike off the rack before the helmet went on. Druitt on her own out front. There you see the swim times, 20:25, 57 seconds behind for McLaughlin. And then the next 5 athletes just 8 seconds apart, so they'll have a nice little group to work with on the early stages of the bike ride. And Druitt, of course, is familiar with being out in front. The question is, how long can she hold on?
So the elite women are out of transition 1 and onto the bike course. Hannah Druitt, Emily McLaughlin followed hard by the pack. Join us after the break as the elite men prepare to begin their Windsor adventure. Welcome back to Berkshire for the Toshiba Windsor Triathlon. There are thousands of athletes out on the course, including the elite women, which means there's only one wave left. It's time for the big boys, the elite men. Let's check out the contenders.
Well, here's a man who has won here before, and he's highly likely to be the first out of the water. It's the fish, Richard Stannard. Stu Hayes is the man who played the domestic role in the Olympic team where the Brownleys succeeded last year, and he's on pretty good form.
Things are really starting to come good for me. I've started running on the track. I'm back training with Richard Stannard, which is good fun. Michelle's coaching us again. It's like the old times. To be honest, I'm having the best time of my life. There's a lot of pressure going into Olympics and try and qualify for Olympics. And when it's over, you feel like you can just relax and enjoy your racing.
Well, Hayes, like Stannard, has won this race before, and so has this man. This is Tom Bishop, who was on fire in the first of the Super Series races in Blenheim last weekend, and he's expected to be running very well again. Hot favourite, and he's looking good.
I kind of tested my fitness out at sprint distance. Now it's time to test myself out at Olympic distance, see if I've got the legs for the 10k and the 40k and the 1500. So yeah, it's feeling good. We've got a strong competition with Stewie and Stannard and Dan Hawksworth and my brother as well. So it's going to be a tougher race than last week, but I'm feeling good, so it should be an exciting one.
Well, what a fantastic field we've got here today. Some of the favourites have gone on the far side. Watch out for Hayes and Stannard at the start. And that looks like Stu Hayes, who's nipped into the lead. Very good technique. And he's in just the right position. Tom Bishop on that right-hand side as well, just like he did in Blenheim. He's trying to get onto the feet of Richard Stannard. He knows that's his way to getting success in the first leg of this triathlon. Stannard moving up alongside Stu Hayes. He will want to be first out of the water here, as he has been so many times before.
This could potentially be my last Windsor as a pro athlete, and if that's the case, then I'd like to finish it as I started it, which was leading the swims. And I think I actually managed, bizarrely back then, to do the same time each year for the first 5 or 6 years I raced it. My time came out the same to the second, about 18:07 or something. So if I can whip round in that, I'll be chuffed to bits.
Well, the hardest part of the swim is now completed, the upstream section, which is some 200 metres longer than the downstream. But for the downstream, they'll be looking for the deepest water in the middle of the river where the current is strongest.
Yeah, it's very technical. The Thames offers up with the current, you know, a whole new set of tricks to come up with or things to look out for when you've got the current to deal with. And certainly on the race circuit in the UK, this is one of the most technical swims.
So Stannard it is who leads round the last corner, and he should be the first man onto the steps. Bishop just behind him. Hayes in third position, I think, at the moment with Hawksworth. And we've also got Shaw, Wolf and Beer in that leading group. So a fantastic effort from all of them. Stannard has done exactly what he wanted to do, which was to be first out of the water. I hope he can get through the transition cleanly and exit T1 with the leading group. Bishop slightly quicker on the run, just as he was at that famous transition at Blenheim last weekend, and he's the first to reach his bike. Now, none of these men should make mistakes and incur penalties. Hayes, a great transition merchant with a little bit of multitasking. The helmet goes on at the same time as the wetsuit comes off. Stannard in third position, having been first out, but what's crucial is that he has company and he is with the leaders, so still looking good for Stannard. He's won the Super Series before, remember, back in 2008, one of the years that he won here in Windsor. But I think today is going to be a tough job because Bishop looks fantastic and Hayes is very good on the bike. When Hayes won the World Cup in Kitzbühel, that is where he made his break. These men have lost just a little bit of ground. Hawksworth there, Shaw, Wolf, Beer, and they can work together. Should be able to close the gap down on the leading three. David Bishop, the twin brother of Tom, has lost almost a minute in the water. Now he too is going to have company on the bike ride, but he's got to try and engineer a way of closing the gap down between the large chasing group and that leading group of 3 athletes. Hayes and Bishop already sharing the work at the front. I think Stannard will get in there and do his part once he settles in, but at the moment the teeth are gritted and that might suggest that he's struggling with the early pace. Ben Shaw in fourth position certainly hasn't. Looks as though he's going to bridge the gap between the lead group and the second group, and the man who races under the ITU colours at the moment, waiting for his Australian nationality to come through. So the swimming times, and Richard Stannard not quite getting the 18:07 that he was after, but with the River Thames the flow changes every year, so maybe it was just as good a swim as he's produced in the past. Now let's have a look at this bike course. As I mentioned, it's a big anti-clockwise loop. After the first 90-degree turn, they go through Hollyport, a long section, and then the next turn points them back in the direction of Windsor, only to be sent down Drift Road, at the end of which is a dead turn, and there the athletes get every opportunity to find out what the opposition are doing before they come into the closing stages, where they're trying to just wind the legs down and get them ready for the run. Emma Pallant approaching Drift Road, 24-year-old from Aldershot, must be reasonably familiar with these roads, not so far from her home. Well, she's gained well on McLaughlin and gained on the race leader. The margin of 57 seconds between McLaughlin and Druitt has been cut to 40. Pallant takes the lead in this group, but in catching McLaughlin, she's taken India Lee and Emma Holt with her. The race leader knows nothing about that, but she will do when she gets to the end of Drift Road. India Lee takes her turn at the front of this group of 6, containing Pallant, Lee, Holt is there, Crowley, McLaughlin, and they're all closing down on Hannah Druitt very, very fast, and there they go. That's the passing point. Some 250, 300 metres between the leader and that chasing group. And Druid, I think, will have been very depressed to see 6 of them together, because she knows how much faster a group can work together. But it's certainly not all about the elite athletes. Over 2,000 enthusiasts enjoying their experience out on the roads.
Definitely the most colourful tri-suit we've seen today.
Thank you.
Now, this is a very special bike indeed, built and designed by the rider, David Lightbourne, the man with the wooden bike, looking for a time of just over an hour. Stunning piece of work that he's hoping to race at the Age Group World Championships later on this year. And he's moving very nicely indeed, as is Natasha Woods, part of the family relay team. And she's over halfway through her section.
2 tough hills to come yet.
Well, she's obviously checked out the course. And daughter Zana will be taking the final leg for them. Well, here's one of those tough hills. And most of the riders coming out of the saddle. Castagnier still has the energy for a smile and a joke on his way round.
Whoa! And then they blew.
Well, Les Bleus are certainly doing okay at the moment, but he's not going to be breaking too many records today, but it's nice to see him out there. And his bike time is going to be around 1 hour 19 minutes, so that's pretty impressive from Castagnier. Back into Alexandra Gardens now, and the second transition, obviously not thinking quite as clearly as he was when he came out of the water, but he still has a 10-kilometre run to go, and if he can beat the hour, he should complete the whole course in under 3 hours. Natasha Woods has made it. Well done to her. And now it's all up to Zana to see what she can do, because the Woods family, remember, doing the sprint race today, which only involves a 5-kilometre run at the finish. Castagnier with 10 Ks to go. David Lightbourne on his homemade bike. He has completed the ride in 1 hour 4 minutes. That is sensational.
How was that?
All right. I think I smashed when the bike came, so a couple of minutes up on where I wanted to be, so just got to slog out the run now.
Well, it could well be a slog, but he can certainly look back on his bike ride with some satisfaction. Back with the elites, and Tom Bishop, part of that leading group of 5 riders who have got the peloton working nicely. Everyone doing their bit. Hawksworth at the front for the moment. Richard Stannard still hanging in there, having looked exhausted in the first kilometre, but he's done well. Stu Hayes looking very fresh. This is the discipline that he enjoys. I don't think I can see him being able to break away on the bike, but he'll certainly be up the front when it comes to T2. So the leading 5 will be looking to their right now, because the chase group just flashing past. They'll have looked to have seen who was in there. And no surprise to see the likes of David Bishop in the chase group.
Come on, keep the guns close!
He's been fairly vocal all the way round, trying to get everyone to work together, trying to get everyone to do their bit. Reminds me a little bit of Jodie Swallow, who used to get so involved in the races. Sometimes it's better just to settle in. But he's absolutely right. You want to be right on the wheel of the man in front and get the slingshot effect when it's your turn to take the lead. Well, here are the leaders, and Richard Stannard, number 2. Good swim, first out of the water, Richard Stannard. Danny Hawksworth, don't forget, he was a former Commonwealth swimmer and still left some 10 seconds behind Stannard, so it gives you an idea of just how good these guys are. The chasing group is large, but I think only about 6 or 7 of them are doing the work at the front. Everyone else is in for the free ride. If they were all sharing the workload, I'm sure they'd be closing the gap on the leaders. He's not shy. The elite women, this is Hannah Druitt, and she is dismounting a bike slightly too early. I think she's got the white lines mixed up. Well, she certainly has, because you're meant to ride through the gates towards the T2 area, and in fact she's realised the mistake, back on the bike, and maybe only 5 or 6 seconds lost. Comes off in plenty of time this time round, and she will be first into T2. Remember, last time we saw her, she had a 40-second lead over the chasing group, and you can see them in the background coming into the transition area now. India Lee is the first of the chasers to dismount, showing a little bit of inexperience. Holt is there, Emma Pallant is in there as well, and she'll certainly be happy with the situation at the moment. Druitt gets away, and she's got 10,000 metres to hang on to first place. It's going to be a tough job. Lee is a good runner. Pallant we know all about, and Pallant, with the strap of a helmet already undone, has committed another infringement. She's got a lot to learn, and she's generally very slow in the transition areas, but it's much easier to get quick at the transitions than it is to gain 5 or 6 seconds over a 10k run. Holt, McLaughlin chasing Lee out of the transition area. Away goes Pallant, and already looks full of running. It's a beautiful style. The big question is, can she catch Hannah Druitt, who still has over 30 seconds advantage? She can afford to lose 10 seconds on each lap, but it's easy to lose 10 seconds on one ascent of the hill up to the castle.
In the men's race, there were 5 in the breakaway, and with the promise of having the run course to themselves, their work rate never dropped. Though neither did David Bishop's efforts to keep the chase group in pursuit. The gap to the lead quintet was narrowing, but would they be back in Windsor before it narrowed to nothing? Druitt, of course, had ridden the whole 40k on her own. Despite that, the hill was conquered, and she became the first elite to make the turn at the castle. But on the way down, she would catch a glimpse of Pallant, who was steaming up the road, already past McLaughlin into third, and chasing down India Lee, who was second to the turn. With Pallant in pursuit, Druitt was in need of another gear. Could she find one as Emma closed in for the kill?
So round the 180-degree turn, and Emma Pallant has seen everything she needs to see. She knows now that she will be taking the lead away from Hannah Druitt. She's running so smoothly. It's fantastic style, but look at the contrast in speed. Druitt is no slouch. Pallant is just flying. Well, as you watch Pallant, you have to wonder whether Druitt would benefit from racing with someone else who can swim at the same speed, so she has company on the bike ride and can save something for the run. Well, here is the run course, and once again it is an anti-clockwise loop, 3 times round, and that means 3 times up the road up towards Eton College, and then back down towards the castle, and of course that climb that we've just seen them complete for the first time. Here's India Lee, who's approaching the Eton College drink stop where the boys are helping out. The self-coached athlete is up into second and going exceptionally well in the early stages.
So Emma Pallant into the lead, but there are still a couple more circuits to go before she has the right to call herself the queen of the town, even if it is just for a few hours. The elite men are closing in on their run as well, so join us after the break for what's sure to be a gripping climax. Welcome back to Berkshire, to a town that always proudly flies the country's colours. The Toshiba Windsor Triathlon is an event that brings the athletes up to the castle, first built by William the Conqueror. It's an iconic sight in triathlon, but the novelty of this climb wears off the third time round as the lactic sets in. But they must all stoop to conquer if they're to enjoy a great reception at the finish line. And as far as the elites are concerned, this can sometimes be the perfect place to go for a breakaway. So let's rejoin your commentator, Patrick Winterton.
Well, Pallant broke away a long time ago. She's out on her own, out in front, moving beautifully smoothly. She will not mistime the sprint finish here in Windsor. There's no doubt about that. She made that mistake in Blenheim last weekend. India Lee in second place, a dogged performance from her. Here are the men's leaders, and Stu Hayes is going to be the first into T2. He's so well practiced here in Windsor. He's very, very slick indeed in this transition. Right behind him is Stannard, Bishop in third, then Ben Shaw, fourth place to Danny Hawksworth. There's a lot of class in this leading group of 5, and they've worked well to stay ahead of that massive chasing group which contained David Bishop. So, who's going to be first out? That is what is crucial, and can anyone get themselves a 10-15 second lead going through T2? This is the big group that has been marshalled by David Bishop, and I think Bishop is up in front. There he is, leading the way into T2. Well, despite all his efforts, they've not been able to gain on these 5 men. It's a long, long run. Tom Bishop, I think the strongest runner in this group of 5, but it depends how much work he's had to do on the bike, how fresh his legs are at this stage. Well, what a fantastic transition again from Stu Hayes. First out, just as he was after T1. Stannard holds on to second place, so a better transition from Stannard this time. Here comes David Bishop. If you think they look alike, they are twins. David Bishop actually had a skateboarding accident, and that really put him behind as we watch Stu Hayes make an incredible burst in the early stages of the run. This is throwing down the gauntlet, and already Richard Stannard is struggling. He's dropped from second down into fourth. Tom Bishop is trying to stay with the pace. Ben Shaw digging in there and looking pretty good in third place at the moment. But Stu Hayes is taking this first 1.5 kilometres at an unbelievable pace. Well, this is what so many of the triathletes have been working at, speed of run off the bike. It's what everyone is trying to do to contend with Alistair Brownlee, who is without doubt the best in the world. And I don't have any doubt that one of the reasons Bishop has got so good in recent years is that he's had the privilege of training alongside the Brownlee brothers. And here he is eating up the ground on Stu Hayes. The knee lift from Bishop is just that little bit higher, the leg action just that little bit more fluent, and he looks full of running as he gets halfway through the first ascent of the road that heads up to the Queen Victoria statue, where they make the turn and head back down again. Now the uphill is where the hard work is done. The downhill is where the damage to the muscles in the thighs is done, and that has to be taken very carefully indeed. Bishop is first to round the corner. Stu Hayes, he's got to stick with him because he knows that Shaw and Stannard will be ready to pounce should he ease up on the pace. Well, Bishop is flying at the moment, and we saw this in Blenheim, so it's been a brilliant start to his season. And if things continue as they're going at the moment, it's going to be 200 out of 200 Super Series points for Tom Bishop. And with 4 races in the series this year, he is very much the favourite to be the champion.
Bishop's attack had blown away all of the opposition but one. Tom's commitment to the cause was total, but it was early in the run, and the experienced Olympian Stuart Hayes was still there as they made their way around the first lap of the course and onto the second. The rest of what had been the lead pack on the bike were now scattered in the slipstream of the lead 2, with Shaw heading up that bunch. Behind him, David Bishop was moving away from his chase pack and beginning to mix it with the leaders, briefly running with Emily McLaughlin, now third in the women's race and still pushing hard as she went into her final circuit. Ahead of her were the 2 contenders for the women's title, Lee lying in wait for a drop in Pallant's tempo. It's pretty hard not to drop the pace on the third visit to Queen Victoria's statue, but there were noble efforts throughout the field of thousands.
Everyone having their own reasons for racing, some just for self-satisfaction, others for completing a challenge, but many are trying to raise money for various causes. Here's a man who really has impressed. One of 2 men in the 75 to 79-year-old category, and leading the way, Tom Rylance at the moment at the top of the hill, and in very good shape indeed. Jim McKellar is his competition. Here he is, a hugely popular man. He's not done as much training as he'd like, as his wife sadly has been diagnosed with cancer, and he's now raising money for Macmillan Cancer Support.
Come on, Jim. How are you, Jim? How are you feeling?
Knackered. Sorry, rather under the weather.
You're still looking okay. What about time-wise? Are you still on course?
I think so, to survive, but Tom's in front again. I beat him on the bike, I blew it on the bike. But it's lovely lot. Come on, let me go.
Listen, we'll hold you up no further. Get going.
I will. Go blue!
And here comes the international rugby superstar, known in his day as the Little Prince, just about to be overtaken by David Lightbourne, the man with the wooden bike. And Lightbourne looking very light on his feet. Castagnier not enjoying the climb. Most rugby pitches were flat. Well, there's always a little bit of energy for the sprint at the end of a race like this. And here comes Anna Woods completing the family effort. Well done to them.
Because it's a team event, you just think to yourself, I can't let anybody else down. So it was all about making sure I got to the end at the end of it, and these lot to do the rest of it. So really, really happy.
Just over 40 minutes for David Lightbourne to complete the run, and his total time 2:13.
There's been a lot of talk about your bike, and it's certainly stood the test today, didn't it? The wooden frame didn't let you down.
No, it was perfect. The bike was awesome. It was lovely. Nice course. The weather was good. I really enjoyed it. It's lovely out there. It's great.
And that time very respectable indeed from Lightbourne. Castagnier finally gets to the finish line. 57 minutes for his 10-kilometre run, and completing in just under 3 hours.
I think it's been tremendous, and all the people that... I think there's a guy who was maybe 70 years old, you know, and he went past me. You know, so just as I said, you learn how to be modest, and you need to all the time you need to improve. That's the good thing about this sport.
Well, a vicious sprint to finish. They'll probably feel that tomorrow. But what about this man, Tom Rylance, who wins the 75 to 79 age category yet again, and followed closely by Jim McKellar. Astonishing effort, a lesson to us all. Remember the distances: 1,500-metre swim, 40k on the bike, and a 10-kilometre run to finish.
Jim has absolutely nailed it once again, 77 years young, and you've completed another Windsor.
I'm so chuffed. The crowd unbelievable, you, everybody. This is the best race in the calendar. But the motivation of coming here every year, I'm going to be back here at 80, and then I'm going to have my ashes thrown in the Thames when I'm 100.
Well, let's not talk about that just yet. You realise if you get to 80, what about the world title, the world age group title?
Why not? All the training I've done round here with your help and everybody's at Windsor, why not? Yes, exactly. You've motivated me again, thank you.
Well done to Jim and Tom. A great example to us all, and looking in very good shape. So does this lady, Emma Pallant. Astonishing running from her. We knew she was going to be dangerous on the final stages of this race. There's so much that she can improve on. The swimming, the transitions, that won't take any work at all. She's an absolute star in the making, and just looking forward to seeing her racing at the very, very highest level, because surely she has the potential to be a winner. She's already had a successful career as a track athlete, and now she is making moves in the world of triathlon, and she wins the Windsor Triathlon for 2013. Well done to Emma Pallant. Out on her own in the end. India Lee into the home straight now. Moved up into second place once the run started, moved ahead of Hannah Druitt, and has kept the pace strong throughout. Just over a minute behind Emma Pallant.
Wow, Emma, what an eventful race, and what a win!
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was definitely eventful, but it was fun. It's all learning, so yeah, I'm happy with the win.
But you must have been feeling confident when you headed out onto the run.
Yeah, I kind of, I always panic to begin with, like getting a bit of a flap in T2, and then so heart racing for the first bit of the run, but then once I get into my pattern and stuff, I relax. I love the run bit. The run was obviously my favourite bit.
And looks as though we could have a sprint finish between Emma Holt and Emily McLaughlin on the left. Holt just holding her ground at the moment, but McLaughlin turns it up. Good turn of pace. Oh, but she's got nowhere. She's got nowhere and comes to a grinding halt to let Holt go through to claim third place overall. Holt, who's given up her career, or temporarily given up her career as a vet, to see what she can do in the world of triathlon. And third place at Windsor must be a good marker. McLaughlin taking fourth after a good, strong swim earlier on today. Let's have a look at the results in the women's field. Emma Pallant takes the victory, having finished second last weekend in Blenheim, 2:09.09, and an impressive result from the inexperienced India Lee.
I really wanted to have a go at triathlon. I've wanted to have a go at triathlon for a long time now, and this year I'm going for it majorly, so it seems to be going okay.
Well, that puts India Lee into second place in the Super Series. Not a bad opening. What a career she's going to have. Emma Pallant, though, a long way ahead, 190 points out of a possible 200. In the men's race, it's Tom Bishop who has not slowed one little bit. He took the first lap very, very hard, follows Stu Hayes' example in the first kilometre, and then turned it on when they hit the first climb. And he's looked brilliantly smooth all the way round. And I think this goes down as an even better result than his win in Blenheim 7 days ago. Brilliant stuff. Under 150. It's quick as well. Stu Hayes, who led for 5 or 6 minutes on the run, is going to have to settle for second place today, but he says he's having a very good season. I think we have to agree with him after what we've seen today. Didn't have any problem staying with Stannard in the swim. He was strong on the bike, and maybe just a bit of work to do in the run.
Well, Tom, 2 in a row, and that was even more impressive than Blenheim. Brilliant run.
Well, this was a real focus. I mean, I had to really taper down for this because it's an Olympic distance, and I just thought I've been running well, and now I'm fresh for this race, so I just thought I'd try my hardest. I know Stu would have really pushed me. I knew he's running well, like he raced last weekend, and I was impressed. So I was running scared for a bit, and I knew the only way to beat him was just to go out hard and up that first hill and try and get a gap. And then once I got that gap, I just settled into a nice rhythm, and I thought, no, I've got to commit. This is my race now. I can't think about anything else.
Well, going well so far. Many congratulations. Another great performance.
Thanks very much.
So let's have a look at the top 3. And third, Shaw, the former junior aquathlon world champion, just behind Stuart Hayes. But taking the win, Tom Bishop, 1:49.47.
He is a world-class athlete. He just needs to believe he's a world-class athlete. I've seen him train with Alistair and Johnny. I've trained with myself. I've always thought he's a fantastic athlete. He just has to believe it. And when he does believe it, he'll be up there with the big boys.
Well, he's up the top of the Super Series standings, a maximum 200 points from the first 2 events, and Richard Stannard at 39, sitting in second place. So the winners get their rewards, and we'll see them in action again in Liverpool at the next of the Super Series races.
Well, 2 classy victories for Tom Bishop and Emma Pallant. Good to see the next generation starting to come through. But this Windsor race has never just been about the winners. Another chapter in its illustrious 23-year history has been written, proving this weekend that the event continues to go from strength to strength. From everybody here in Berkshire, bye for now.